Hello and welcome to this week's episode of Raising Healthy Mothers. So I am going deeper again into gut health this week. You might have noticed I've been a little bit obsessed with it recently. So let me ask you something. Are you feeling snappier than usual, struggling to fall asleep, or maybe stay asleep, maybe you get woken up and then struggle to get back to sleep, even if you're feeling really exhausted? Do you have that constant wired but tired feeling, maybe reaching for caffeine and sugar or just quick meals like toast just to get through the day quickly? So quite often we sort of just excuse it as motherhood or hormones. Often as we approach 40s, we're thinking, oh, it must be perimenopause. It's everywhere. Everyone's talking about hormones at the moment. I don't know if you noticed. Or maybe you're blaming it on the fact that you're not practicing mindfulness or yoga or journaling and you're not spending enough time on yourself. Like there is so much pressure right now, and we are told that all those symptoms that we're feeling is probably because of this one thing definitely that is going to help you. The thing is, from my point of view as a nutritional therapist, yes, all of those things could be a factor. But there's also something else going on under the surface that most people don't know about and are never told about, because it could be your gut. Not because you have IBS or you're bloated or you're running to the loo or you're constipated. Those are the obvious signs of digestive discomfort. But your gut is where your nervous system, your immune system, and your hormones all talk to each other. It's all linked to your gut. So if your gut is under pressure, if it's inflamed, depleted, lacking that nourishment it needs, your whole body is going to feel it. Your mood is affected, your sleep might get worse, your stress resilience, maybe you find yourself getting angered very easily. Maybe you're triggered by tiny things that didn't used to upset you before. Even how often you get sick. Maybe you're catching everything from your child when they bring it back from nursery. All of those things are potentially signs that your gut is under pressure. So last week I talked about what to eat that will feed your gut microbiome. So this week I'm zooming out a bit and giving you a bit more of a bigger picture of how your gut works and the 4-step process for gut health, so you can make choices this spring that can help soothe your gut and feel more energy, less stress, much calmer, sleep better, so that then you can approach the summer holidays with calm and confidence, because I know that you're thinking about that summer holidays with a bit of trepidation. I certainly am. Spring is a brilliant time to reset your gut. It's that season of renewal. Your body is often kind of craving lighter food, a bit more movement, a bit more flow. And you also want your body to get prepared for that intensity of summer when the children are around all the time. So as you might have noticed, I am running a supported spring gut reset in a couple of weeks' time. So if this episode resonates, then you will definitely want to join in. I'm going to talk about it at the end of this episode, so keep listening. But let's get into it. Let's find out what it is your gut really needs so that your whole system can feel safer, calmer, and better supported. So when I think about resetting the gut, I like to use this framework, this 4-step framework based around the garden: to seed, feed, fertilize, and weed. Now listen, I am not a gardener. I don't even have a garden. So I am talking about this from a nutritional therapist's point of view and just trying to make it easier to understand. But I do think there's a lot of similarities there. But before we get into it, let's quickly talk about what your gut microbiome actually is. Your gut microbiome is basically a whole ecosystem living inside your digestive system. It's made up of trillions of bacteria, fungi, and other microbes, most of them living in your large intestine. And before you get really grossed out, please just remember these little bugs are meant to be there. They're absolutely essential. Together, they help break down food, they create vitamins, they support your immune system, they help your hormones, and they even help you feel calm and clear-headed. So as I said, I like to think of it as a garden. Some microbes help things grow, some keep the weeds down, some are just passing through and they don't really do much for you. When the balance is right though, your gut runs smoothly. You absorb your nutrients better, you feel more energized, you sleep better, your hormones work better, you're less triggered and easily angered, and your immune system is stronger. And here's the thing that people don't really appreciate. Your gut is key in your brain health because it helps make key brain chemicals, things like serotonin, which affects your mood, your sleep, and your sense of calm. So when we talk about resetting your gut, we're talking about gently restoring balance in the garden, not wiping it out and starting all over. We want to make sure that we're giving the helpful microbes what they need to thrive. So the first part of the garden analogy is to seed your gut. This is all about introducing the right microbes, those helpful bacteria that support digestion, mood, immunity, and inflammation. So this is probably what you think about when you think about gut health and the microbiome, the actual bacteria that live in your gut. And you might also be thinking, oh, can't I just take a probiotic supplement and be done with it? Well, here's a thing that a lot of supplement companies don't say. Even if you take a probiotic every day, those bacteria don't always reach your gut, and some don't hang around for very long. It's not always known how well they survive your stomach acid and whether they actually reach your gut. Sometimes they just pass right through. Some might hang around for a bit, but a lot of them might not settle, and they might need specific conditions to be right for them to actually want to be there. So that's why it's not just about taking a supplement, although a supplement definitely has its place. But I would say you need to make sure that it's targeted for a specific reason and that it's time limited as well, so that you know that you have a way to check whether it's actually working. And that's where things like testing can come in. So that's why we can't just talk about adding in a probiotic and be done with it. There's a whole system there to look after your gut. That's where the feed, fertilize, weed sections come in as well. So to feed your gut microbiome. So again, in a garden, once you've planted those seeds, you have to feed them, don't you? You have to water them. You have to make sure that they get the nutrients that they need in the soil. Now, obviously, the in your gut, your bacteria is always there, but choosing the right type of food is going to help the right type of bacteria to thrive. I went into this in a lot more detail in last week's episode, so listen back if you haven't already. But essentially, fiber is really important here. But wait, before you reach for the bran flakes, think more diverse. Think about different types of colourful plant foods. These feed a wide range of microbes and encourage your gut microbiome to thrive. The wider the variety of plants you eat, the wider the variety of fibre you get in. It's not just about choosing that one fibre, that one high fibre food and being done with it. And also there are specific fibres that are key for specific microbes. Again, I talked about this quite a lot last week, so go back there to listen in for more details. But my main advice here really is whenever you're cooking or preparing a meal or putting a plate together, think, what else? What else can I add in? Can you add in one more herb or salad leaf to your salad? Can you add a handful of lentils to your bolognese? What veg have you got languishing in your fridge that you can add into your curry? Whenever I make a Thai curry, for example, I don't just make a chicken Thai curry. I add in aubergine, courgette, peppers and mushrooms, lots of different veg that I might otherwise have not had in that meal, just to kind of bulk it up a bit, which helps to make it go further, but also to make sure you're getting more nutrients in there, and obviously different types of fibre. And again, if you normally have blueberries on your porridge, can you also think, what else can I add in? Can I add some strawberries and a handful of pomegranate seeds? Can I shake over some flax seeds, or maybe some chia seeds, or maybe some nuts? Just what else can I add in? Just think, what else? What one more thing can I add in? This helps to keep it really simple, to avoid the overwhelm. I don't want you to try and create the perfect microbiome meal. Honestly, one really key part of gut health is staying calm and rested. So don't let this become a source of stress, because that's not going to help you. Choosing more fibre in this way is also going to help feed your mood, because those microbes, remember, help to produce those neurotransmitters that are important for your brain health and your mood, like serotonin. Really important to support your mental health and sleep there through your gut. Okay, so we've talked about seeding your gut with the good bacteria. We've talked about feeding your microbiome with what they need to grow. But there's one more piece that's also often overlooked. You need to fertilize the soil in your garden, don't you? In other words, you need to create the right environment in your gut for those helpful microbes to actually stay and thrive. And there are two sides to this, the way I think about it. So number one, you want to fertilize your gut with the food that soothes and nourishes it. It's not just about getting more veg in, although, as I said, that really, really helps with feeding it the right stuff. But it's about calming any inflammation and helping to repair your gut lining so that your microbiome has a solid foundation to live in. Now, there are some specific, very lovely gut healing foods that I'm going to introduce in the Spring Gut Reset in a couple of weeks' time. But some really basic things that you can add in, some everyday food, and making sure that you eat oily fish that's high in omega-3 fats, things like salmon and mackerel and sardines. Have bone broth in your cooking. So when you're making soup, use a good quality bone broth. This is absolutely gold for soothing the gut lining. It contains an amino acid called L-glutamine, and it just is really brilliant for repairing the gut wall. You can also find L-glutamine in food like chicken and lentils as well. Zinc is a really key nutrient for your gut health because it's key for immunity and gut repair. So you can find that in things like pumpkin seeds, although the highest source is actually oysters. So if you can have an oyster once a week, that is really good for your gut health. And then there's making sure that you're eating lots of plants that are high in polyphenols. These are plant compounds that feed your microbes and reduce inflammation. Things like berries, dark chocolate, good quality olive oil, lots of herbs and spices as well. Look, you don't need to go all out and buy like loads of expensive supplements here. You just want to start adding some more of these real foods into your week. And just like before with the fiber, just think, what else? What else can I add in? Can I add in one more thing to my meal that is going to help my gut health? And then the second part to the fertilize phase is fertilize with calm. Now, this bit sounds a little bit fluffy, to be honest, but I do actually think it's probably the most overlooked and powerful part of your gut health, because your gut just does not work when you are rushed, stressed, or running on fumes. If your nervous system is stuck in survival mode, barely getting through the day, then your digestion is going to slow down. Your gut becomes inflamed. The environment is hostile to helpful bacteria. Like, just think about it. Do you ever feel it in your gut when you're nervous? Do you ever rush to the loo before doing a big presentation? Years ago, I used to do CrossFit, and even months after I first started, I would often find myself needing to run to the loo before the workout actually started because the nerves really loosened my bowels. You can see there's a really clear link between feeling stress and your gut's reaction to it. So on a day-to-day basis, fertilizing can also mean taking a few deep breaths before you eat, sitting down and eating your food properly with your feet on the floor and just having a calm moment with your food, chewing enough, chewing properly, and just making sure that you have these moments of calm when you're eating so that your gut gets the message, it's safe, it's okay, we are ready to digest your food. And sleep matters too, and I know that's a really tricky one in mum life, but whatever helps you feel more rested, whether it's going to bed a little bit earlier, maybe staying in bed if you can a little bit longer, or just making sure that you are prioritizing your sleep whenever you can, is really going to help your gut too. And finally, just like you'd weed a garden to give your plant space to grow, to remove that competition, sometimes we need to weed out the unhelpful bacteria that is taking up space in your gut. And there are two parts to this again as well. First of all, you want to remove the foods that are feeding them. So that's things like excess sugar, alcohol, ultra-processed food, and even too much caffeine can create a stress environment where these unhelpful bacteria can thrive. I'm not talking about completely detoxing and removing everything. Maybe that's a bit tricky in this season of your life. But can you reduce it? Can you have a rule of, I will only have caffeine before midday, for example? By cutting back like this, you're shifting the power back towards the good bacteria, the healthy bacteria that you want to thrive in your gut. Remember, it's not about being perfect. It's just about tilting the balance in the right direction, creating a gut environment where the helpful microbes feel at home and the troublemakers leave or just keep their activity down to a minimum. And that's the sort of foundations that we lay in the spring gut reset. And the second part to weed is to remove any unwanted bacteria and keeping that overgrowth to a minimum. So you might want to remove things like yeast and parasites, pathogenic bacteria that could be throwing your whole system out of balance. This is where the more severe symptoms like ongoing bloating, anxiety, fatigue, IBS, eczema, even brain fog could be a clue that there's something deeper going on. Now, this one is obviously a little bit more complex. It's not something that you can do on your own easily. But it is important to understand that your gut is a bit like a neighborhood. You want friendly, helpful neighbors, the good bacteria, and as few troublemakers as possible, the less helpful ones, the yeast and the parasites, the pathogenic bacteria. Now, you can shift the balance over time with food and environment, assuming that you don't have a huge overgrowth of the less helpful bacteria. So obviously we've talked about that already, eating more fiber and plant foods, reducing sugar and ultra-processed food, and supporting your immune system and your nervous system with stress management. So that is all going to help tip the scales in favor of the helpful bacteria. It creates an environment where they flourish. And that is going to mean that there is less space for the helpful one. There's less space for the less helpful ones to proliferate and take hold as well. But if your symptoms are really severe, where if you have that ongoing bloating or IBS or skin issues, fatigue, anxiety that I already mentioned, it could be a sign that your overgrowth is quite severe. And in these cases, it's often not just about throwing a probiotic at it and trying to manage your stress and hope for the best. This is where working with a practitioner like me in my one-to-one packages could be really helpful here. Because what we can do is we can take a comprehensive stool test to see exactly what's going on in your gut and whether there's anything that needs really targeted therapeutic support to weed it out. And that is something that you cannot do on your own. You need to be done supervised. You mustn't guess though. You have to do the testing to find out what's there and then be really targeted to sort it out. But remember, you don't have to start there necessarily. Often, as overwhelmed, stressed out, busy mums, we just need to lay those foundations first. Remember, your gut isn't just about digestion. It's where your body makes key nutrients, manages inflammation, balances hormones, makes sure your immune system is working properly, and produces that over 90% of your feel-good brain chemical, serotonin. So if your gut is feeling a bit out of balance, you are going to notice it, and not necessarily in your digestion. You know, that 3 o'clock crash where you're waking up tired even after a full night's sleep. Maybe that constant low grade sort of sluggishness or fogginess, feeling anxious or snappy and not really understanding why. You don't actually need to be doubled over with tummy pain to feel that your gut might need a bit of support. Sometimes it just shows up as exhaustion and overwhelm. So that's exactly where the spring gut reset comes in, to lay those foundations. Over the 7 days, we are going to seed, feed, fertilize, and gently weed in the way that we can on a day-to-day basis to make sure that the environment in your gut is right for the bacteria that you want in there to thrive. And we do this through simple, delicious food and doable changes that is going to fit into your life as a busy mum. I'm going to guide you through what to eat, how to support your gut, and how to tune into your body to make sure that you actually hear what is going on. Ultimately, by the end of the week, you're just going to have a much better understanding of what it is that you need to do to focus on your gut so that you can feel better, clearer, calmer, and more energized without needing to overhaul everything straight away and work it out on your own. So doors are opening next week and the early bird spots will go quickly. If your gut and your mood could use a bit of a spring clean, I'd love to have you on the wait list now. Head over to tashadacruz.com/waitlist to be the first to know when the early bird tickets are available. As I said, when they're gone, and they will go quickly. I know people who've done my resets before are lining up to buy it as soon as they can. I will also pop the link to the waitlist in the show notes so you can follow up there. Thank you so much for listening today. I have really hoped this chat about seeding, feeding, fertilizing, and weeding your gut gave you some fresh insight into how you can support your gut health this spring and maybe even help boost your mood. If you want to dive deeper and get some gentle practical support, remember the Spring Gut Reset is there for you. We're starting on the 2nd of June and we're going to do it gently over a week. The waitlist is open now, so head over to the link in the show note or tashadacruz.com/waitlist and I'll see you there. Otherwise, take care of yourself and I will catch you in the next episode. Bye for now.